not on the agenda? All right, seeing and hearing none, our first presenter is Jason Emery.
Jason is not right here yet, so we might want to jump down to Casey
Okay.
here until he pops on.
Thanks. Let's do Casey.
Hey, Commissioners. So this is the interlocal agreement we have with the city to help do the feasibility study for the federal building. So the money has already been set aside by the city and the county, and this document just kind of lays out how the financing will work in terms of the county will be doing the financing and then bill the city for their half of the share, and then any costs that they incur for specifically their needs will be 100% billed to them, and same for the county. So it kind of just lays out the management of that agreement and how that feasibility study will be conducted between their two entities.
Great.
When will it be conducted, Casey?
Yep, so the screening for public entities and homeless assistance ends on this week. So we'll know from GSA if we have the go-ahead to kind of start working on our application. We met with A&E this week, or just the other day, so we're gonna kind of hit the ground running hopefully next week.
Oh, great.
That's fantastic.
Well, then I request the board approve the interlocal agreement with the city to cooperate in the acquisition and management of services and to assist in addressing facility needs for city and county of Missoula.
All right. Wonderful. Yeah, thanks for riding herd on this, Casey. It's a great project. Really excited to see it grow. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, Jerry, would you like to go next?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. This is a contract with A&E Architects for for a facility on the fairgrounds. The amount is $1,078,691. With this money, they will put together their documents for Jackson to give us their number. Any questions?
So this is okay. This covers construction. What else covered with this?
This is just the A&E Architects. It does not cover the construction. That will come from the Jackson Contractor Group. They will go through these plans and put their numbers together. So give us an idea of what it's going to cost.
So this is for, oh, go ahead, Josh, sorry.
I was just going to say, if you have a guess at what that's going to be, or a ballpark.
That is a good question. Yeah, I don't know. You know, we got an estimate from them last summer, and somewhere I do have a number here of a little over $8 million for that part of the building. Now, there's also, and this maybe gets a little confusing, there's also the garden areas, parking lot, and those kinds of things that we're putting in place. And part of those costs will be done from in-kind because we've had a lot of horticulture interest. So we'll have the building as one section, then we'll have that outside area, I guess I'll call it, also as part of that process. So it won't be a lot more.
Okay, so it's includes the Missoula County Extension and Weed District offices, the Missoula Conservation District offices, the Butterfly House and Septarium, and the development of the 4-acre site. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it includes all that.
Yeah, and includes the removal of the existing maintenance building. It does not include. Okay. Thank you.
On the removal of the maintenance building, is there a deconstruction plan?
That will be part of the process of putting that together.
Great.
This is just the architect side of the picture.
Okay. Well, way to go, Jerry, to bring us this far. We're getting closer.
Yeah, it's another step closer. I did notice an error in the document that comes out from the commissioners, that the dollar amount was $1,078,091. It should be 691. I don't know if that makes any difference.
Oh, 1,078,061.
691.
Annie, are you able to fix that?
Yes, I will note that in the motion that the amount was corrected
Great.
to reflect 691.
Okay, so I'm going to, okay, I move that we approve the corrected motion amount and contract with A&E Architects.
Excellent. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Jerry.
You bet. Thank you, folks.
Yeah.
Has Jason Emery joined us?
Yes, I have. Sorry, I was late.
No worries. You want to do items 1 and 2?
Yes, I do.
Great.
Sorry, I don't have that in front of me. Which one's item 1?
It was purchase agreement with High Point Networks.
Yes. So we are at the end of our life on our corporate firewall that protects all of our networks from the bad guys. It's a device from a company called Palo Alto. We've been on this current device about 6.5 years. So it's like I said, gone into life, and we're just due for normal maintenance type upgrade to a new device to keep ourselves protected. So essentially, this is just a newer, faster piece of hardware, and it's actually a pair of them called an HA pair for high availability. So in addition to continuing on the high level of protection that we have, we should also have better performance, especially with all the remote workers on VPN and such. And it also gives us some failover redundancy. So if we have one go down, we don't lose our internet connectivity. It also allows us to do updates and things like that, again, without interrupting kind of the flow of traffic in and out from the internet. So essentially it's coming to you just because of the size of the purchase. It's over the $25,000 in goods. And this includes also a little bit of time from High Point to help us migrate from our current platform to the newer version.
Great.
Well, I move that the chair sign the purchase agreement with High Point. What's the, and we expect this to last for how long? What's the lifespan of this?
It'd probably be in the 5 to 7 year range. That's generally kind of the life cycle of this type of hardware. So that it'll just kind of depend on as technology advances, you know, you and our needs, you know, it depends on a little bit on Missoula County growth. So, you know, there's a possibility that we could outgrow it, but we sized in quite a bit of buffer capability so that the county can grow a fair amount without having to, you know, look at doing this here in a couple of years.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. Was a motion made?
It was made, sorry.
Okay.
And then I asked the question,
All
sorry.
right. I'm sorry. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right, Jason, the next one about Adobe.
Yep. So this is our yearly Adobe renewal. So we have a lot of folks that use Adobe products, primarily Adobe Acrobat. We do have a few other things, Premiere and Photoshop and things like that. So last year we went on to more of a similar model that we did with Microsoft, where it's an operational type expense. So you essentially just pay a yearly fee to use the software. Nice thing about that is it's easier to budget for. It's a predictable expense. It also allows us to keep all of our software up to date. Adobe is actually very well known for cybersecurity problems in their software. Microsoft gets all the press, but really Adobe, pound for pound, probably has more security risks than things like Microsoft. So this allows us to keep all that stuff up to date, where in the past, what would happen is we'd get really far out of date, and then we'd have to cough up a couple $100,000 to get everybody up to date. Yeah, so I don't think it's a good way to go. I think it's really hard to budget for that, and it causes a big hit. And also, I think folks tend to resist it. I don't want to upgrade. Well, we kind of have to from compatibility and security standpoint. So again, this is just our yearly renewal. This covers the whole county. This actually gets billed to departments individually, but kind of funnels through the IS division here. And again, just based on the size of the spend, it's coming for you for approval.
Great, thanks.
I motion that that the chair sign fiscal year 21 Adobe renewals agreement.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks.
Hey, thank
Jason.
you.
All right, next up is Kelly McGuire from RBS.
Hello. This is a lease agreement for Mineral County office space. We have one employee, Mary Furlong, who's based in Mineral County. Her work is funded through a federal grant that allows us to serve rural communities in Missoula County and Mineral County. She's been in another office space for maybe the last 6 years, but the building was sold, and so that space is no longer available to us. So this is a new lease agreement for a different office space at the rate of $350 a month or $4,200 for the year.
Are you happy with the space?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but Mary likes it. So it's a bigger space. She'll be able to do maybe like distanced workshops there or use it somehow. It's sometimes difficult to find space to have youth come to, especially. So she's excited to have that option available.
Oh, that's great. Well, I motion to approve this lease agreement. I'm sorry, I don't have the right language in front of me. Approve a 1-year lease agreement between RVS and Old School Enterprises.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Kelly. And Matt, you have a couple look like really interesting things for us.
I do, and good morning, commissioners. So the two items I have, the first one on the agenda is the contract with the Japanese American Confinement Sites Consortium. It's the grant we applied for last year in the fall and we received, and it's to do a full architectural planning and assessment of both of the original Alien Detention Center barracks that we've moved to the fort. One was the DNRC barracks that was over on Spurgeon Road, and the other is the old Building 18 at the fairgrounds. So we have both those two here. To do a proper restoration, we need to have somebody come in and literally they catalog every individual piece we have of these and decide and give us a plan and drawings and such to move forward. This will include, actually, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong contract. So the original grant is $40,000. We also have secured the match for that. The Friends of the Museum have agreed to put forth $17,000 towards the 2-to-1 match, as well as we have a private donor that gave us $3,000 towards it. So the project is fully funded. So the first request is just to sign the contract with the confinement sites and the National Park Service for the $40,000 grant.
Yeah. Do you want to just go ahead and work through number 7 as well? And we'll do them.
Sure. Oh, yeah. There is one little hitch on the first grant, Josh, the grant contract. We talked about this at the public services meeting. Because Dave was the chair when the grant was submitted, Dave is also listed as the person to sign this contract. And I think Chris said that you guys could just authorize Dave to sign.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. So that makes it easy. The second item I have is the actual contract with A&E Architects to perform the assessment and planning for the full restoration of both buildings. It's roughly, I think it's 55 or 60,000 is what the contract is. The number should be in there, but yeah, we worked through that. I did work through Brian at the county attorney's office, and there was 2 small clauses that he wanted changed, and we were able to get that done at the end of the day yesterday. So the contract that's with you should be fully updated. I think Annie updated that one. So I would just ask the commission to authorize or just sign that contract so that we can move forward with the assessment and planning.
And so you're saying those 2 buildings They were at the fort, then they got moved to Spurgeon Road into the fairgrounds, and now they're back.
Yes, that's correct. So they were both part of the original camp. In the 1950s, when the fort kind of decommissioned, they essentially took the buildings and they offered them to whoever wanted them. County took some buildings. There were a number of private individuals in the community. The University of Montana took several. So we know of a handful of them that are still out there. And these two in particular were threatened in their current locations. So we worked with the DNRC and then, of course, Missoula County to kind of take these apart and bring them back to Fort Missoula. And the idea would be we'd eventually have a whole series or a complex of buildings related to the internment story at Fort Missoula that we could use to tell that story.
Great.
But maybe I'm confused. I thought the assessment was the 40,000.
So the assessment is actually close to 60,000. The grant was for 40,000. They do a 2-to-1 match, so they provide 2/3 of the total budget.
Wow.
Okay. So okay, I'm going to motion that the board approve the grant contract. Do I need to say, is Dave approved or Dave signed the grant contract or what?
And authorize Commissioner Strohmeyer to sign.
Okay, I move to authorize Commissioner Strohmeyer to sign the National Parks Service Agreement.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then do we need to do the second one? Okay. Then I also motion to approve the contract with A&E Architects to complete the full historic and architectural assessment of the two original ADC barrack buildings.
Fantastic. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. And really look forward to seeing this project move forward.
Great.
Okay, next we have a standard employment agreement with PHC.
Yeah, so this is a renewal contract for one of their advanced practitioner nurses. So she started with us in 2019, so this is her second contract with Missoula County. No changes to the terms other than the hourly rate that you can see, which is posted there at $46 per hour. And then this would renew her for 1 year. As you'll recall, all of the provider contracts run 1 year, which coincides with our fiscal year usually. So
Great.
I move to approve the standard employment agreement between Molly Horton and Missoula County.
Let's
And
keep
PHC.
Molly working at PHC.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Do we have correspondence? Okay, some discussion items. Chris, this one sounds like it might be you.
So this one is, I'm on here for, and I think Emmy might be on here. I'm not sure if Sarah was able to join us or not, but as we're looking at the rest of this calendar year, as we know, COVID is going to continue to be with us. So I just wanted to touch base with you. We have been doing 2 administrative meetings a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays with a chance for you to meet with the officers on Wednesdays. We've kind of been doing that on a month-to-month basis, but knowing that we're going to be in this frame through December, we wanted to just wonder what the commission's will was as to whether you wanted to continue that format and have the officers' meetings on Wednesdays, or if you wanted to move back to 3 administrative meetings per week. And also just to confirm that those would continue to be in this format, at least through the end of the calendar year, unless for some reason there's some major change with COVID and we're all allowed to get back in the same room at the same time, which we're all hoping for, but I think is probably more realistic in next calendar year than this one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Juan, do you have a strong sense of this?
Nope, it's whatever you guys prefer. I feel like this is working 2 a week with meeting with folks on Wednesday, but it's
Yeah, I feel like it's working, Chris, but I'd like to hear what you all think.
Sure, I can tell you, I think largely the officers are finding it particularly helpful given the amount of changes that we're having to implement as we go through COVID. But I do know that it has made admins a little difficult for some of the agencies. And Annie, maybe you can, I see you popped on, so maybe you can speak a little to that too. So
I find that it's working surprisingly well, and we're not getting overwhelmed on any particular admins. As far as the number of items, I've been able to kind of keep that where we can get done in our allotted hour. So I don't see a problem with us continuing if that's what you guys wish to do.
Great.
So with that, we'll continue with the Tuesday, Thursday format then, and we're going to allow the staff to do then is just schedule that out through the end of the calendar year, so that there's some predictability for folks doing that. I will tell you, I talked to partnership because as you'll see every week, you've had quite a few partnership renewals. They're going to try and pare those down just so that what they can do is have one action item that has the people that are being renewed. So there might be 5 contracts because they're very uniform across the board in what's being done other than the hourly rate. So for example, it might list board requests or board approved standard employment agreements between Molly Horton, advanced practitioner RN at $46 an hour, Billie Jean at, $51 an hour, just so that we can make that a little bit easier, both for the commission and for them on the entry, since they're just renewals of employment agreements. Still, for new contracts, those kinds of things, those will be listed out separately. These would only be the renewals, just to hopefully allow them to less bunch up on some of the admins, which might also make it a little easier scheduling wise too.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Anne, were you gonna say something?
No, I just wanted to say hi and say that I like the 2 admins and the 1 officer. So I'm glad we're going with that.
Good.
Fun. Okay. Great.
All right. Upcoming board meetings or review of meetings. Anyone have anything you're excited about or worthy of note?
No, I can't think of anything right now.
Okay. Feel like we're making some headway on the encampment.
Oh, yes. I think, and they're, yeah, I think so. I think we'll learn more on Thursday.
Okay. And I'm thrilled that you're going to go do a visit. That's super, super good.
Yeah, hoping that'll work out.
I've got one today I'm excited about, and that this health insurance thing I've been working on for the last 8-9 months or whatever, that we got a small grant for. We have a kind of pivotal meeting today where we're choosing some options to pursue. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have more to report later, but I'm really excited about it. And I feel like one of the few silver linings to this horrible situation and we're in right now is I think people are generally more open to larger scale change type solutions than we would have been in times of stability and prosperity.
This is about exactly a year after you came back from Colorado, right?
Yeah, it's right in that. Yes, you're good. You're right on. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. I got to sit next to the guy in the bus that helped with the grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh,
yeah,
that's
thanks.
super exciting, Josh. Well done.
Yeah. Thanks. I'll have more to report soon. Adrian, do you have anything on sinkholes, asteroids, fires?
It is surprisingly calm out there, and I'm knocking on wood as I say that, and I'm always happy to be wrong about predictions. We continue to be hot and dry, but our energy release components, when you look at the graph of the kind of steady climb that they had in response to those really warm temperatures that we've had recently, one of the things that is surprising is that they kind of plateaued over the weekend and going into this week. And that's largely due to a lot of the humidities that have been making the air feel so muggy. They've been actually helping those fuels kind of recover every night with increased dew and moisture in the air. And so we're not nearly in as bad of a situation as I thought we would be relative to fire danger in response to those high temperatures. But we still do have the rest of the month to go. So right now we are still sitting at high fire danger, which equates to about the 80th percentile. We don't tip into very high fire danger until we start bumping into that 90th percentile, meaning that the fuels are in that 90th percentile of dryness. And so we're sitting pretty good. We do have some lightning in the forecast, but we've had several small lightning fires that have been reported throughout the county, but they've been able to get on those real quick and suppress them in initial attack. So it's all good news. The fire that is burning to our north that sometimes is visible from Missoula, up on the reservation, that is about 60% contained, so they're getting a foothold on that one as well.
Great.
What was that one called?
The Magpie?
Magpie, yep.
Okay.
And let's see, shifting gears a little bit to just current COVID situation, operations around the non-congregate shelter, the Sleepy Inn, continue to go really well. We've been working with Alice, which is the new social worker hired with CBDG funding into the health department to assist with a lot of the case management for individuals accessing the Sleepy Inn, but also just helping PHC and the Poverello Center, helping those folks kind of navigate the COVID-19 environment. We, to date, have 4 individuals that we have been able to place into non-congregate shelter in that high-risk category. So these are individuals that were identified in the community through our community partners as being over 65 and having underlying health conditions that needed to have a place where they could self-isolate due to their congregate living situation. We were happy to be able to place them into the Sleepy Inn. This week, I believe we're going to increase that number from 4 individuals to 8. And that's been a really great opportunity for us to kind of operationalize how we manage that site with the staff that we have and help with our planning assumptions as we go into the winter. The other side of the operation, which is for that isolation and quarantine piece for people who either have been exposed to or are confirmed positive with COVID-19, continues to be just a day-to-day change in the number of people that access the site as people come in and then are released. But that operation is also going very well. With these warm temperatures, and if you'll recall, a lot of the modifications that we had to do to that facility to make it kind of acceptable for this use were we had to remove a lot of the furnishings out of the facility as well as the air conditioning units. And so as the temperatures came up these last couple of weeks, we've had to put in air conditioning units into the facility, and that, you know, it's you kind of solve one problem to create another, and so now we've got some electrical things that we're having to work through, but largely just day-to-day business there, and I am happily surprised with how smooth that operation is running.
Well done.
Adrian,
well, I've got tremendous staff, and the folks that we've hired to manage the facility are just, they're rocking it. They're doing an awesome job.
Adrian, have we heard anything from FEMA on the reimbursement for the non-congregate shelter?
No, largely because we are still, this will sound like an excuse, and maybe it is, but largely because we've had to go through with a lot of line item detail about all the expenses we've had to date and provide a burdensome amount of justification for every nickel that we've spent. So for example, it's not enough to say that, you know, it's summertime in Montana and the rooms have windows that don't open and the building has poor insulation, therefore we need to put air conditioners in. We have to be able to demonstrate that the ambient air temperature, the nighttime air temperatures is insufficient cooling, and that it poses a risk to the people that are in there. It's not just a comfort measure, it really is a life safety issue when you think about the rooms never getting below 85 degrees.
Huh.
So that's by way of saying, so we're continuing to kind of create that documentation package so that we can put it into the portal, and the portal is what FEMA utilizes to look at all of our documentation and determine eligibility of funding. We continue to be very confident in both our conversations with FEMA Region 8 as well as the state as to what we're doing being an eligible expense, but it's just a matter of going in and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. We are, because we have probably the largest non-congregate shelter operation in the state, we've had conversations with state DES about them making our funding request for reimbursement for non-congregate sheltering a priority for the state, and they've said that they would do that. What that in practice, what that means is that our application would go in with a gold star from the state of Montana saying, you know, look at this one first, fund this one first. What that means, though, as far as the timeline, I honestly don't know. I think we're hopeful in that it could be as little as 3 to 6 months in a turnaround, but I honestly have no optics into what is a reasonable expectation for that priority of reimbursement. And then along those lines, with non-congregate shelter, I think I mentioned to you last week that we are working with the University of Montana to develop a plan for non-congregate sheltering as they start to bring students back into a congregate setting and in the dorm rooms. Their situation and their needs are a little bit more unique than just our community at large, in that when their population, I mean, if you were to think about if a dorm facility, an entire dorm facility, excuse me, were to need to be quarantined because of their interaction and their communal bathrooms and just their communal living environment, that would quickly overwhelm the facilities that we have available to us kind of just for the community at large, which university students are a part of that community, but they also do present kind of a unique challenge. So we're working with them to and the health department to figure out what makes sense. And as I think I mentioned to you before, the state has taken kind of the posture that isolation and quarantine really is the responsibility of the county and not the university. And so we're looking to how we bring what they need for their operations under our non-congregate shelter plan, so that we can all be successful through this fall semester and into the winter.
Wow, such a challenge.
Yeah, and you know, there's not really a good playbook for it.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say about non-congregate shelter is that we've had some recent correspondence from FEMA generally, not just FEMA Region 8, but that and this is not a surprise necessarily, but it is something that we're starting to kind of have to plan for, and that as different federal agencies get kind of tapped with different components of this pandemic, FEMA kind of steps away from, you know, they're really postured to take on those immediate and acute needs around an emergency, but they are not an agency that is well equipped to kind of be in it for the long haul. And so there is currently discussions and planning in process right now to transition non-congregate shelter activities from a FEMA activity to one that is funded by HUD. And what that yeah, the request for information I got this morning as they're planning for that transition is a little mind-blowing, but they're really looking at this as more of a programmatic activity around homelessness, rather than just kind of the very narrow focus that FEMA had relative to isolation and quarantine because of COVID. And what that looks like in the long term, I don't know. When it does eventually transition to HUD, whether it makes sense for that to continue under our office or to transition to a different agency that is more equipped to deal with kind of the programmatic HUD delivery system, we'll have to evaluate that as time goes on. But as of today, we're still under FEMA, and we will be requesting an extension. Our current plan takes us to August 10th, and so we'll ask for another 30-day operational period under FEMA.
Oh. Do you anticipate any issues with that?
With the transition to HUD?
No, with the the 30 days.
No, I don't at this point. They continue to kind of just say ops normal and to continue to operate as though you will get another 30-day extension. So.
What do you think the transition to HUD will mean in terms of getting reimbursed?
I honestly don't know. What I anticipate is that much like some of the other HUD programs, it would be a front allocation, and they would say, you know, here's your, I'll just throw out a number, here's your $1 million, and you know, spend it in a way that meets our criteria rather than in a FEMA environment, you know, we're kind of in this, you know, emergency response. And so they kind of take a different angle in that do what you need to do in these guidelines, and then we'll reimburse you on the backside. Where if it transitions to HUD, I can see it being much more programmatic in that, you know, here's how much money you're going to be allocated to do the work that you want to do. And that's a different paradigm for us in emergency management. And that's why it may make sense to look at a different agency to transition that entire operation to.
Great, thanks. That's big news.
Yep.
All right, anything else? Events, invitations, anything else? Great. We get an extra 20 minutes in the day.
Awesome.
Say, Josh.
Oops, Andrew.
Josh, are you going to be around on Thursday? I'm going to need some wet signatures on some financing contracts.
I can make sure that I am.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll look at my schedule and send you a note, Andrew.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. See y'all.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks.
See